All right, good afternoon. This is going to be FOP Class 7. We're going to continue on LemonadeStand.py. Um, Before we begin, for those of you that did go over it yesterday, anything that you may have encountered that you're wondering, um, how do you do this, or any question that might have arise, now's the time. Bring it up. What do you guys want to cover? Okay. Well, it's gonna be a pretty easy start. We'll take about 30 to 45 minutes tops for you guys to work on it. I know it's a heavy assignment. And afterwards we'll do a code along. You guys can compare your code, figure out, the way that you did it, the way I did it, and we can compare and contrast the differences and whatnot. But yeah, we'll break up into individual breakout rooms like we did yesterday. If at any point you encounter any issue, do raise your hand and I'll move towards your room and assist you with anything. All right, welcome back, everyone here. I'm gonna show you guys a quick little sneak peek at the game you guys will be creating. To ensure you guys are here when we ever do go to class, in case you guys have other responsibilities, it'll motivate you to be here. Let me share my screen. And then with sound. Don't worry too much about the code. I'm just gonna go ahead and play it for you. Quick little preview, but essentially your retro Space Invaders game, we will be coding that from scratch. And it's important that you guys understand classes and objects so we can actually make that. All right, so this is like your spaceship object, your bullet, your aliens. There's not too much code that goes into it, but it would be nice to be able to see everything come into play and see how classes and objects work together to give you a visual representation of something. Cool.
Cool,
I know
cool,
that
cool.
I know that excites you guys. It excites me. I like making stuff like that. Uh, but yeah, so make sure you guys are here. We'll probably what's the day? Wednesday? Thursday. We'll probably start at Monday. Tomorrow we have another lesson. Actually, we'll probably get to that lesson today, and then maybe finish it tomorrow. Uh, and then we might be able to start it Friday. If not, we'll start it Monday. It'll take a whole day to do. It's gonna be talk through code along, right? As I code, you guys will code with the README as well, and then uh, after we have a base level of the game, we will be broken into teams, and then you guys will go and add different features. The sound I just recently added within the last hour while you guys were working, and no one needed help. But you guys will get up to the point where you can move, shoot. There'll be no sound effects or whatever, but it'll do everything I just did minus the sound. That'll be part of the assignment for you guys to add. But all right, let's go ahead and get to it. Um, did anyone finish it at all?
I got to enter sales for today. I was able to correctly throw the exception and print out a message for invalid sales item, but then my else statement is just blank.
Okay. Give me a second to try to get everything set up. I was working on some stuff beforehand. Show my screen. Quick disclaimer, I do have my reference from the work I did because it is a lot of code, and so I don't get stuck in trying to debug stuff. I do have it. I don't like not doing that and not telling you guys, so you don't think I'm just pulling stuff out of thin air. But I do have it here just in case we do get stuck. All All right, so lemonade test.py. Okay, so from the top, for the most part, you probably have about 75% of all the code we're doing. Just kind of watching and pay attention. Um, so you guys don't get too lost. If you guys have any question at all about what I'm doing, or whatnot, just stop me in my tracks and we will address it. Don't let me get too ahead without you guys, uh, figuring out what's happening. All right, so we're writing code for recording the menu items in daily sales of a lemonade stand. It will have these classes: menu item, sales per day, and lemonade stand. All data members of each class should be marked as private, a leading underscore in the name. Since they're private, if you need to access them from outside the class, you should go do so via get or set methods. So I did mention to you guys to create separate files for your classes. So we'll do one here for menu item.py. And then sales per day. And this will allow us to separate all the code. I'm sure once you guys started coding along in your LemonadeStand.py, you realize how much code there was. So like having all the classes, having to scroll all the way up to see the menu item class and the sales per day class, it can be a little overwhelming. So it's always good to kind of just separate all your stuff. So starting from menu item.py, we're gonna go ahead and create a class, menu item. The menu item object represents a menu item to be offered for sale at the lemonade stand, which has 3 data members. We're going to go ahead and define our init method. We're going to take in self, like every method in the class. A string for the item name. So item name. A float for the item's wholesale cost. We'll say item wholesale cost. A float for the item's selling price. So item sell cost. Both of these being floats. So one going to be how much the stand pays for the item, and one being how much we're going to sell the item for profit. The menu item methods are, as you see here, it takes 3 parameters: name, wholesale cost. I think we'll just actually rename this to what this says here, just to ensure we don't get confused. So wholesale cost and selling price. All right, and then let's go ahead and assign these. So self dot underscore item name is equal to item name. Self dot wholesale cost equal to wholesale cost. And up to this point, all this is pretty explanatory. I'm sure you guys got this far. But I still need to do it myself. All right, all 3 of these members, data members are privatized, quote unquote privatized. The menu item methods are the init method and get methods for each of the data members. So define get item name self, and then return the item name. Get wholesale cost, return self dot wholesale cost. If I make a typo or mistake and I overlook it, please let me know so we're not wasting time. Get selling price, self return self dot selling price. Okay, so we have our 3 get methods. Pretty straightforward. That takes care of our menu item. Next going to be the sales per day. So create the class sales for day. Define the init method. It represents the sales for a particular day, which has 2 data members: an integer for the number of days the stand has been open so far. So number of days. In addition, whose keys are the names of the items sold and whose values are the numbers of those items sold that day. So sales thick self dot _ number of days. and self dot sales dict. And this will be an M3 dictionary. All right, a dictionary whose keys are the names of the items sold. So we go ahead and make a small little comment here so we remember. So keys is going to be names of items sold, and values, numbers, number of items sold that day. All right. It's also important to make some comments here, especially when you're working with lists and dictionaries, and you have all these different things all over your code. It can get very confusing to understand how it's structured. So it's always
So
what's up?
sorry to interrupt. The sales dict isn't shown as mapped right now to the empty object or the empty dictionary you put in. So should that just be self.salesDict equals salesDict, and then below that you can declare the salesDict as an empty dictionary?
What?
Uh, you make a good point. We can go ahead and um do this as default, and then we'll do sales dict. Thank you. Yeah, so the default will be a dictionary in case they don't add anything there. Um, it could just be by itself. But in the event you already have a record of the sales for that day, you can override it yourself. Thank you for that. Cool. All right. So next will be the get methods for each of the data members. So define get number of days, return self underscore number of days. Define get sales dict, return self dot underscore sales dict. All right, cool. Pretty straightforward. That should conclude the sales per day class. Now we can go into our LemonadeStand.py. So remember that LemonadeStand class must not directly access the private data members of menu item and sales per day objects, right? We have the get methods, but instead must call the appropriate get methods. Cool. A LemonadeStand object represents a LemonadeStand, which has 4 data members. So the class LemonadeStand, define init self lemonade stand. What would you say? Name. Current day, and we'll say a dictionary of menu item objects. So we'll say menu. We'll do self dot name is equal to name. Self dot current day is equal to current day, and self dot menu equal to menu. We can also give this a default if we wanted to. All right. And then here we'll write notes. Keys is names of items, and then values will be menu item object. Cool.
Did you want the menu to be privatized, or is that
Oh
intentionally?
yes, thank you. Of course. Thank you. Okay. All right, so we got our name method, and then we need a get method for the name. So define get name, return self underscore name. All right. Now, finally, we get into the real meat and potatoes of the code. So add a menu item. Let me go here. Okay. So we have the get name. So we're gonna do define add menu item. And it should take as a parameter a menu item object and add it to the menu dictionary. New items can be added to the menu on any day. So we should be able to do menu item object. And then it should get our menu. It should add the menu item object, what you call it, name. Let's look at the menu item real quick. Get item name. So let's get item name as a key, right? So it's supposed to have the name of the item as a key, and then we're going to assign the entire object as a value. All right, am I doing that correctly? Yeah, item name. Yeah, item name. Okay, yeah, cool. So we want to grab the name. That's going to be saved as a key with the value of the object itself. That should conclude that method right there. Go into the next one. Next will be enter sales for the day. So define enter sales for today. It'll take itself, and then what else? Takes the parameter a dictionary where the keys or names of items sold, and the corresponding values are how many of the items were sold. So we could say sales stick, right? Or items sold stick. So it takes as a parameter a dictionary where the keys or names of items sold and the corresponding values or how many items were sold. See the example at the end of the readme. If an item in the menu doesn't appear in the dictionary, then there were no sales of the item on that date. This is where I got most of my questions. If the name of the item sold doesn't match the name of any menu item in the dictionary of menu objects, this method should do nothing except raise an invalid sales item error. All right, so we can just go ahead and go up top here. And before I continue, let's go ahead and import our objects. So from menu item, import menu item, and then from sales for day, import sales for day. So we don't even have the class yet, so it's probably a good idea to import these. And then let's create a class up here that's going to be invalid sales item error. It will take in from the exception class, and we're just going to go ahead and pass. Okay. Everyone still with me? Now, so we want to grab this dictionary, loop through the items that are sold, and then compare it to our menu to ensure that the item even exists in here. So we're going to say for item in items sold dict. If item is not in self dot menu, then we want to do something, right? We should probably check the dot no, so we're going to the keys, yeah, right? So dot keys. If item is not in self dot menu, so we're looping through the item, so dict that is from self the day, correct? Names of items sold. So this will hold the name of what we're looping for, and then we compare it to what's in the menu. And by using not in, the cool thing about the dictionary is it's unlike the list where you have to loop through every single item in a list to compare it to something to find what you're looking for using the double equal signs. Because we have key value pairs, when you use something like not in or in, it takes the item you're comparing. So for example, item, and it uses it as a key. So it will look into your object, or I'm sorry, not your object, your dictionary, using bracket notation, the item that you give it, and it will add it as a key. So it will look directly for the item called whatever you're calling it, right? So it uses the keys of that dictionary to find it immediately, unlike a list that it would have to loop through every single item until it finds it, right? So it's almost instantaneous, unlike a list that, depending how many items the list is, it will take that long until it finds it. Whereas this, it's instant, right? So let's say we probably don't want to do just keys. Let's say items or item, comma, item sold. Let me see how this is built. So for the, yeah, so items sold. We want to be able to grab both the keys and the values, right? And then as we loop into it, we're going to just check the keys. So if item is not in self.menu, then we should do something. We're going to want to raise an invalid sales item error. All right. We can also do something like this, where we use the try and accept block, right? I saw a lot of you guys do this. Try and accept. You don't really need to do that. They should give us the same response, but for demonstration purpose, we can. So we can do a try and accept block, and then the accept will catch.
You could say accept invalid item error as E and then print E. And that'll print a message for whatever
Yes,
the error is.
you definitely can. Or I could just do this. Both ways are right. You're not wrong, Brandon. Good job. You could do that. But I'm just gonna keep it like this. I'll just raise it, catch it, and then just print item does not exist in menu. All right. So if the item is not in the self._menu, then I want to raise this error. By raising this error, we just failed the try block, and then it'll go into the accept block. We have a specific accept block that will catch the same error we are raising, therefore printing our message out, right? So kind of going back to yesterday, when I mentioned that, there's nothing syntax-wise, naming-wise wrong with our code. We are creating our own error that we should find that's specific to the code that we're writing. We created that error and we're trying to, find that. That's the cool part about making your own exceptions. So if the item is not in the self._menu, then I want to raise the error. Else, I should add it. Otherwise, it should create a new sales per day object using the current day in the dictionary that was passed in there. So we should be able to.
Well, I don't know if this would work because in the instructions it says if any of the items don't match, the method should do nothing but raise the exception. And wouldn't this block run even if there was an exception raised?
We can. All right, let's check it out. So I didn't read it complete. So it should take a parameter as a dictionary where the keys are names of items sold and the corresponding values are how many items were sold. And then we have to compare it to our menu. And if the item sold doesn't match the name of any menu item in the dictionary, then it should do nothing except raise an invalid sales item error. Correct.
So we could
Otherwise, continue.
We could put that the else statement below the accept, and it will run if the try block does not fail.
Well, if it doesn't fail, it will do what the next part we're gonna do. Right, so it's gonna go through it all. It's gonna find if it's not in there. If it's not in there, then all it's gonna do is just run the accept block because they won't run the else statement, right? So we should be doing the right thing.
Okay, cuz I thought that I thought the code will still run even if it throws the error because it's
Negative,
proper. Okay.
right? The moment it fails, it's going to stop and it's going to go into the accept block. So if it erases the error, it
Oh,
fails,
okay.
right?
I thought because we're cleanly handling the error that it would still run the code. Like,
Uh, I don't believe so. No, it would go into the invalid sales item error. We can try it out.
okay.
If it does that, then we'll come back and we'll refactor the code. But I'm pretty sure if it raises the error, it fails the try block because it ran into this error. We forced this error to appear, right?
Okay.
And then it should go straight to the accept block. So it would make more sense to have it in here because
Mhm.
if it is in the menu item, it should do something. If not, then it should do nothing else but raise the exception, correct?
Mhm.
So it should create a new sales per day object. So we should say new object or new sales per day object is equal to sales per day. And then if I remember correctly, it takes the number of days and sales dict. So the number of days. So we should be able to do self dot underscore current day, right? Self dot underscore current day. And it should take the
Yeah, I don't think we needed to do that for every single menu item in there. I think that, I mean, if you read it, it says throw the invalid sales item error. Otherwise, so if it doesn't throw the error, otherwise, it just creates a new sales per day object, right?
Yeah.
So, but you're doing it for every single item. Right there, you see, you're doing it in the else. You're doing it for every single item. But that for statement is just to check if there's going to be an invalid sales item error. At least that's how I understood it. Like you don't
Well,
need to do this else for every single item, right? Just
if
you do it
if we
outside. Go ahead.
we do need to, right? So let's look at what sells the where's that? Is it lemonade stand? No, sales per day. Uh, do we forget something on the lemonade? Yeah, we did forget it. We forgot an item here. We forgot a data member. It's supposed to be 4 data members, but we only have 3, right? It should have self dot underscore what's it called? Sales for day. It should be an empty array, right? It's essentially our record, right? Or we could just say sales record, right? Because we're trying to keep track of what we sold that day. This sales record, it should hold a list of sales for day objects. So we need to know everything that we sold on this day.
But isn't that what item sold dict is? Isn't that already the list of everything? So we don't have to individually add it one by one as we cycle through. We can just add that item sold dict, right? Is that the same thing?
Well, the item sold dict item we're passing in here, that's going to be I'm pretty sure it's this, right? We're comparing it to this, and we're looping through there, and we're trying to keep a record of everything that we have in here, of everything that we sold, like what we sold for that date, sales record. The sales record is a list of sales for date objects, and that sales for day is the number of days of when it was sold, right? And then the sales date holds the names of items sold. So we essentially need to create multiple dictionaries for every individual object that we sold and then save it into an overall sales for date. object. All right.
Okay.
I believe that's what we're trying to do here. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. So essentially, it should be today's sales is equal to an empty dictionary. And we will loop through here until we find every single item. So if it is in the menu, then we should be able to add it to today's sales, the name of the item, right? So we should be able to get item name, item dot get item name. Or we don't even have to do that because this is the name itself. And then assign what we sold, right?
Yeah, isn't that the same that we passed?
What do you mean?
Isn't that the exact same thing in items sold dict? Or am I just misinterpreting that? That's how I wrote
items
mine. I did it wrong then.
items sold, because it's not every single one of these is on the menu. We're gonna run into items that are not on the menu.
Right,
So-
and if it's not on the menu, we run that error, so it doesn't run, right? But if everything inside of items sold dict is in there, then that exception won't throw. So we can just make items sold dict. Like we can just add it in, right? Because if that item isn't in the dictionary, it'll throw an exception.
I'm thinking now that
So we don't have to build this because it's already built. If there's an item not in the menu, then it'll throw that error.
yeah, but how are you gonna add it to your sales record?
I mean, okay. Maybe
Right,
that's
so-
that's what I misunderstood. Okay.
Once we filter out everything that was sold on this day, we need to grab all those items sold and create an object for it, right? And then that object will hold the name. I'm sorry, the number of that whatever day it might be, right? It may be the 5th or 6th day, and then that object will also hold a dictionary of all the items that were sold that day. But this dictionary cannot have anything that wasn't on the menu.
So right, and so
So-
if that invalid sales item error isn't raised, then everything inside of items sold dict is sold on that day, right?
Correct. I see what you're trying to get at. Okay.
Yeah.
Then we should probably do this.
Yeah.
We'll do this. We're going to get rid of this. And we're going to loop through it like normal. So this cannot be in the except block. So for item, comma, item sold for whatever, right? Then we're going to check if it's in there. So if item not in self dot underscore menu, or actually we'll do this. The try except block should be in here. Try if item not in self dot underscore menu, then we need to raise the invalid sales item error, except invalid sales item error, print item does not exist in the menu. And if it is, we should just today sales. Here's where I'm getting lost. We should be able to take it. Because if it was the other way around, it would have canceled the entire for loop. We can't cancel that loop. Does that make sense? Because before we had the for loop within the try and except block. So the moment we encounter an error, every other item in the menu would not be looped through. It would only add partially like whatever we've checked so far. So the try and except block needs to be within the for loop, or it would give us a partial list of what was sold. But we don't have to do an else statement here. We just do, we're gonna add it to today's sales dictionary, and then how's that formatted? Names of items sold, and then number of items sold that day. So we should be able to do item is equal to items sold. And then once it loops through everything, it grabs the stuff that was sold. We should be able to go ahead and just create the object. So new sales object is equal to sales for day, and this takes the number of days, so whatever day it is, which we can do self dot underscore current day, and then it's going to take the dictionary, which is today's sales, right? And then what's next? We have to add it to our sales record, because the sales record is a list of sales for day objects. So we'll do self dot underscore sales record dot append new sales object. Cool. And we should be able to just go to, we need to increase the day. So self dot underscore current day plus equals 1. Make sense? This probably shouldn't be here. This should be defaulted to 0.
Yeah, if you look at the init method, it just says it takes one parameter, which is the name of the stand, and then initializes everything else to blank.
Okay, we can do that as well too. Either or. Both ways are fine. I guess we just have less power in customizing our lemonade stand. No biggie. But all right, so let's talk about what just happened here. So we started this with a try and accept block right off the bat. And then in the accept block, we did our for loop. So that at any point, any of the items that were sold that day did not even exist in our menu, that try block would have already would have stopped everything in its tracks and raised the exception. Therefore, it doesn't loop through the entire item sold dictionary. So we would have probably only gotten like 4 items out of like the 20 items that we might have sold, right? So we had to shift that around, put the try and accept block within the for loop. So if it doesn't exist, then we just pretty much finish that, raise the error, and then it goes back into the next item in the for loop, right? It took a little understanding, but cool. Thank you, Cody, for your assistance. That kind of made me realize what's going wrong here. Does this look similar to what you guys did too? No? Nobody?
I mean, this is where I definitely got stuck. I am able to, like, working through it now, obviously, I'm able to, get enter sales for the day to work.
Okay. But yeah, but does this make sense of why we moved the try and accept block? Because if it is not in there, it needs to stop this for loop. It shouldn't add it to
Oh, right.
the today's sales, right? It should automatically stop, go to the exception, print this out, and then go to the next item in the for loop and keep doing it over and over again. It should only raise an exception if the item does not exist. But if it does exist, it does need to add the rest of it. Cool? All right, so that takes care of that. We'll move forward. Next one will be sales of menu items for day. define sales menu item for day. It takes as parameter an integer representing a particular day. What should we do is day. And a name of a menu item name. Okay. It returns the number of that item sold on that day. This method will use the given day to find the corresponding sales for the object in the list, and then call its get sales dictionary method to get the dictionary of sales for that day. So we have what day we have, and then we want to go through the sales record. So we're going to say for day in sales day in self._sales record. So we're looping through the record, and then we're trying to find the day that matches the day in our parameter. Well, how do we get the day for that sales? Well, we have the get number of days. So we can do sales day dot get sales day. Is that how our method would get number of days? Get number of days. Let's compare it. If day is equal to sales day dot get number of days method, then we need to do something, right? So it should take as primary integer representing a particular day and the name of the menu item. It returns the number of the item sold on that day. So we got the day. Now we have to get the item of that day. Well, we're gonna want to grab the sales stick. So we can do sales stick is equal to sales day dot get, what do we call it? Get sales stick. So we're gonna grab the record of the sales on the specific day. All right. And then what? We have to find. It would then look for the item in the dictionary, take into account if an item in the menu doesn't appear in the dictionary and there was no sales for that item in the menu. So we got the dictionary. We're going to do try and accept. Sales for day is equal to sales dict and then menu item name. We're gonna try to grab it. And if not, we're gonna raise or we can just do if, just like we did before. If sales, no, we'll do if menu item not in sales dict raise invalid sales item error, and then we'll catch it here.
Yep, I think it says if there doesn't sell, then you just assume you return 0, right?
We can, yeah, whatever it says. And
But,
there, or it just says take
Yeah,
into
just-
account that if the item in the menu doesn't appear in the dictionary and there were no sales of the item on the day, it doesn't really specify anything. We can just say, we can just do it ourselves. No
Okay.
item sold on this day. Right? But
would that be an exception, or would that just be return 0?
I mean, it doesn't specify what to return. It just says that there were no sales of that item on that day. Where does it say 0? Did I miss something?
Yeah, if an item doesn't appear in the dictionary, then there were no sales of that item. That means there
Yeah.
was 0 sales.
Yeah, I mean, we just
Okay.
same
All right,
thing.
copy
You can return 0, or you can just say no items sold on this day. Whatever floats your boat. Cool. Either or, there's no specification on what it should return. It just no items sold in that day. But if it isn't there, then we should return the sales, right? Yeah, this method will use a given day to find the corresponding sales for the object and list, and then call it sales date, but to get a dictionary of items for that date. We should return the amount of times it was sold. So we should return the value of the item sold that day. So return sales dict and then menu item name. Right? Pretty straightforward. Yeah.
Yep. Is that the same as sales dict menu item name dot value? Does that return the same thing?
Which one?
If you just added dot value at the end of that?
No, this will return the value by itself, or you can even do this. You can do return sales dict dot get, and then within here you can put what you're looking for. So we do menu item name, and in the event it doesn't return anything, you can still return 0. It don't matter. But either or, we're checking it twice. This will grab the value just like the other one did. The only difference is here, if you didn't use a try except block, you were able to give it a second argument, which is whatever you want it to return if it doesn't find it. That's the power of using the get method on a dictionary. All right, so if you call the name of the dictionary, use .get. Within here, you put the key of what you're trying to find, and if it doesn't find it, the second parameter is what you will return. So essentially, it shouldn't even have to get to that. We don't even need to use the get method because we're raising an exception if it's not even in there. But let's say it is in there and there were 0 cells. So either it doesn't exist or there are 0 cells, right? Cool. Any questions? Does something look wrong? Yes? No? Okay. Let's move forward. Total sales for menu item. Actually, we'll make a pause here. It's 7:21. I don't want to take your break. So let's take a 10-minute break and we'll come back and continue afterwards.
Not actually a drawing, but so I was thinking something of like, example list. And this would have, day 1.
It's not even a dictionary. So it's a list holding objects. The object has a data member that holds dictionaries, and the dictionaries has key value pairs of days. It's very nested.
Right, and that's why I was trying to get rid of the extra classes and everything and just like kind of hard code it and then run it through the console to show like what the output would be.
Okay, sure.
I'm just trying to see if that would like help for understanding, like because it is very confusing.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that real quick then.
Okay.
I see what you mean. All right. So
Gonna stop sharing. Hold on.
it gets very confusing because it's nested, right? And I understand. So essentially, we have sales for day, right? And this sells for day. Where's it at? Oh, it's a sales dict, right? So sales dict day 1. And then this has water. And we sold this 10 times. We also have lemonade. And we sold this 15 times. Right? And then one more for good measure. We have Pepsi. And we sold it 5 times because no one likes Pepsi. Right? Sales dict. This is a dictionary that is currently living inside of the sales per day object, right? Here is going to be your object. So this is your object. It has data members, current day. Oh, this is different. It's names of items sold. Okay, so it's not even nested. It's just one big object. All right. So this specific object, why is this? Okay, see. This specific object, Cody, it's holding 2 data members. One being the current day, and then the other data member is a dictionary. This is the object. This one specific sales per day object holds the current day in a dictionary, right? Now, within your lemonade stand, you have a record, right? You have a record of all your sales. So we have our lemonade stand object, and it has a data member called sales record, and it's a list. This list is holding multiple different objects, right? Sales for day, I'm gonna put it in quotation marks. Sales for day 1, sales for day 2, and sales for day 3. Cool? Don't get confused because it's a string. These are objects, right? Each one of these represents an object that holds these data members. Now, you're trying to find out how much did I sell on day 1? And you are doing if day 1 is not in sales, or no, you're not even doing that. You're doing if Coke is not in sales record, and then you're putting the day you're trying to find. Let's say it's day 1. Then do whatever, right? We're just put pass here just for the sake of it. But this doesn't work. Why? Well, because you cannot access this day 1 and compare it to Coke, right? Because you're currently comparing an item on your menu, which is Coke, to an object. That's not going to work, right? Because you're putting the day that you're trying to find as the index. Because this is a list, it uses indexes to find the different items within your list. So by putting day 1 into the index, it's returning to you the item in index 1, right? And now this is returning to you sales for day 2 object, and you're comparing this entire object, right, to this string called Coke. So it doesn't know what you're asking because this is going to return to you an entire object at index of whatever day is, right? The day could be day 1, it could be day 5, it does not matter. But by using this type of notation on a list, it's going to return to you what is inside these brackets. Well, day is a number of whatever day you're trying to find, but in a list, it takes integers and it uses that as an index. So whatever day is going to represent the index within this list, right? And let's say day is equal to 1, it's going to grab index 1. But what does this return? It returns an entire object. And now you're comparing this object that's holding this to the string Coke. It's not going to understand that. What you need to do is loop through the list first, so you can grab every individual object. So it should look like this: for record in sales record, right? What is that going to do? It's going to loop through this list and it's going to grab every individual object. And now that you have that object, well, we want to grab the sales dictionary that object holds. So how do we grab the data members of an object? Well, you created a method for that, and that's the get method. This get method returns to you this data member, which is holding a dictionary. So you would essentially have to do record, right? Because record is an object. For record in sales record, you're looping through a list that's holding objects. So record is currently right now an object. So record, and then use the get method, get sales for day, whatever you called it. Get sales dict, my bad. I called it get sales dict. So I have to use the get method, get sales dict. What is this returning to me? This is going to return a dictionary. This dictionary is currently stored within this data member. This dictionary is a dictionary with key value pairs, key being the names of the item that was sold, and the value being the number of the item sold that day. So this will return to me this, the sales dictionary within this object. And then once I have the sales dictionary, my sales dict, then I can grab a key that matches the item that I am looking for. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, but I'm still tracking like, so this is current day 1, but say I call the function for day 3 and I don't have lemonade in day 3, but I'm searching for lemonade. This will still pull up lemonade out of day 1, but
it will not. Well, because you're looking for a specific date, right? So
where?
I just skipped that part, my bad. So right here, you're looking for objects, right? You're looping through all the different cells, right? These have data members called current date. So you need to check that first, right? So it should be if the day that I'm looking for is equal to, let's say I'm looking for day 3, right? If day is equal to record.get day, we have a method for that too, right? Get number of days, whatever day this is. Get number of days, right? If the day that I'm searching for matches the specific day that I'm looking for, then I want to do this part. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does.
So
yeah.
you need to use day to find the specific sales object you're looking for. And then once a day matches that object, then we can grab that dictionary. Make sense?
Yeah, I think I was just confused on all the layering. So you laid it out really well there.
Yeah, there's a lot of nesting here. You're looping through a list that's holding objects. These objects have data members, like the number of day that it was open, and then another data member that holds a dictionary of the sales for that day. So you have to kind of layer your way down until you find what you're looking for, right? So first and foremost, you have to loop through this entire list to find the object you're looking for. And as you go through all the objects, you're comparing the day until you find the day specifically that you're trying to find. And then once you have that day, then that means you're in the right object. Now that I am in the right object, now I can grab that record for that day. And then I can compare the item I'm looking for to that record. Cool? You're currently comparing the name of the item you're looking for to an entire object because of the way that you're looping through this. You're not even looping through it. You're just grabbing a list and using the day as an index, but it's going to return to you an object because of the way that it's stored. Make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I thought I could just pull out what I wanted, but I have to cycle through. Yeah.
Negatron,
Well,
Batman.
If you do want to pull something specific, you still have to layer down like he's talking about through bracket notation and dot notation.
Yeah, you still have to do that. You can't just like, the computer doesn't know what you're looking for. You're looping through a list and you didn't specify, hey, I need you to go in here and find this day first. You can't just expect the computer to know that you are looking for a day. You need to hard code that and make your way down through the nest of dictionaries, objects, until you find what you're looking for, and then you would do what you want with the information given back to you. Make sense? All right. I hope that was worth it. I live for this stuff, so do ask questions if you are confused. This is the main purpose for me being here. All right, so now that that's taken care of, let's go ahead and delete this crash. Go back to Lemonade Stand. So just to go over it, that's what we did, right? We're looping through the list of records, right? It's a list of records. We're grabbing every single object. We assigned it a variable called sales day, and then we're comparing the day that we were looking for to the day that we're currently looped through. We're grabbing the day that belongs to this object by using the get number of days method, right? By doing this, it returns to us the day of this object. We compare it to the day that we're looking for. If it matches what we're looking for, then I want to grab the dictionary of sales for that day. And once I have the sales for that day, I want to find the menu item within that dictionary. If it's not in there, then I want to raise an error. But if it is in there, I want to return that back to me because that's what I'm grabbing. Cool. That's what we did here. We were nesting through, we're going through the list, finding the object, comparing the day. Once we find the day, then we want to grab the sales for that day, and then we can bring it back. Cool. Awesome. All right, moving forward, we left off at sales for menu item. Okay, so next would be define total sales for menu item. All right, so it takes as a parameter the name of the menu item, so menu item, and returns the total number of the item sold over the history of the stand. All right, so we're probably going to want to, loop through everything and grab every single day, see how many things we sold on that day, and return it back. Okay, so we need a total sales. So right now, total sales is going to be 0. And now that we have the total sales, we can go through our entire record. So we're going to say for record in sales dot underscore sales record. My bad, self. So we're within the same class. What did I do wrong? Oh, it's privatized. So we need to loop through our record, right? If I lose anybody, please stop me in my tracks. So we want to go through our record, find every single item that exists in all our record logs, and add it to the total sales of that specific item, right? Now, as we loop through it, we already know, we established this is a list of objects. So now that we have an object, let's return sales for day is equal to record dot get sales. So get sales dict. So every single object I'll go through, I'm going to grab the sales for that day. And then I'm going to look for the item I want. So I'm going to say total sales plus equals sales for day dot get menu item. If it doesn't find it, I want to return 0. Right? So I'm looping through the record that I have. It holds objects. Right? Let me make a note here. Object list. Okay, well, now let me do that. List of sales for day objects. Right? I'm looping through that list and it has a bunch of objects. I know that the sales per day object has a get method to grab the entire log of what was sold that day. So that's what I'm doing next, right? I'm using that method to return to me the sales for that day. And then once I have the sales for that day, I know that it is a dictionary that holds key value pairs, one being the key of the name of that item, and then the value is how much was sold. So by using the get method, this should return to me the value, which is the times it was sold that day, and I'm gonna add it to my total sales. And in the event I don't find it, I'm just gonna return 0. So it doesn't add anything. Make sense? Now, once I'm done with that, I should just be able to return total. Return total sales. You guys see anything wrong with this? Is it good?
So what's the difference between that get sales records and then that self dot underscore sales underscore record?
So this,
Yeah, what's line 48, the record dot get underscore sales dict? What's between that and line 13?
this is my overall total sales record for all my days, right? But every single day, the object has a method where I'm grabbing the sales for that day. So it's a little confusing with my naming convention, but essentially I have I can essentially do total sales record to not confuse you. Right? So I'm going through my total sales record, right? And as I go through my total sales record, I'm grabbing the sales for that day, which is an object. That object has, or we can even say sales for day. I don't think I have that in here. Sales for day in self.underscore total sales record. I want to do sales for day, get sales dict. That'll return to me the dictionary for that for that day. And then once I grab that dictionary, I want to grab the menu item that I'm trying to total, right? Menu item. So get menu item. And then I want to add the value of that menu item that's within that dictionary and save it into my total sales, right? And then once I got the total of everything throughout my entire record book, I want to return sales. Cool.
Okay, I think you might have to rename the first variable for 48 because that's equal.
Oh, I see. sales for day dict. Thank you for that. I didn't even notice it myself. Yeah, so I'm grabbing the dictionary for the sales for that day, assigning it into this variable, and then once I have the dictionary, I'm gonna grab the menu item, and this should return to me the value, which is the total amount of times I sold that item, and then add it to my total sales and return total sales. Cool? Naming conventions. They can confuse you or they can freaking help you. All right, you guys just saw this right now. So make sure as you guys are naming your stuff, if you want to get confused with what you name stuff, your naming conventions will take you a long way, or they'll break you. This is a prime example. Thank you, Cody, for that. But hopefully this kind of explains a little bit of what I'm grabbing. But yeah, cool. So total sales for menu item has been taken care of. Now, next is going to be define total profit for menu item self. Is going to take as a parameter the name of a menu item. So menu item. And returns the total profit on that item over the history of the stand. All right, so what does that mean we have to do? We got to get the total sales for that menu item in general, right? And then after we have the total sales for that menu item, what do we need? We need to get the wholesale cost and the selling cost. We need to know how much we paid for it and how much we sold it for. Do some math right there to get our profit and return that, right? So luckily, we just created a method that allows us to get all these sales for a menu item. So we can do total. I don't think it should give me an issue. Total sales is equal to total sales for menu item, and then I can pass the menu item in here. This method we just created will return to me everything that we did, right? But why is it giving me an error? Well, because I'm still within the same class, so I need to put self. I'm just reusing the same method I used earlier to grab the total sales of that item. Now that I know how many times I sold something, what do I need next? Correct. The wholesale price and the selling price, right? So I'm gonna say menu, I want to grab the object first. So menu object is equal to self dot underscore menu. I'm gonna go into my menu. We see it's a dictionary of names of items and it holds the menu object. So menu dot get menu item. This will return to me an object, right? Because we go up to our menu, we see that it's a dictionary. The key is the name of the items, and the value is the entire object itself, right? It's holding this, the menu item object. So now that we have the menu object, we want to grab the wholesale cost, which will be menu object. And how do we grab the wholesale cost from this object? Using get wholesale cost. Get wholesale cost. Selling price is equal to menu object dot get selling price. This will return to us how much we bought it for, right? And how much we sold it for. And then we can do profit is equal to the selling price minus the wholesale cost, and then we multiply that by the amount of times we sold it, right? Make sense? And then we return profit. Cool. So we took advantage of a method we just declared earlier on line 45, get the total sales for menu item. That allows us to, not reuse the same code. Instead of retyping this out, we already have the method that we declared. So we can use that method to get the total sales. Then we want to grab the object itself, so we are able to use the wholesale cost and selling price. After that, we do the math to figure out how much more money we're making in comparison to how much more money we spent, and then multiply that by the amount of times that we sold that item. Therefore, it gives us the total profit for that menu item, right? Next, total profit for stand. So total profit for stand. This takes no parameters and returns the total profit on all items sold over the history of the stand. So total profit, we'll just keep it at 0. And then we're going to go through every item in our menu. So for menu item in self._menu.keys, I'm going to do total profit plus equals self.total profit for menu item, because we just declared that method, and we can add the menu item in here, right? And then just return total profit. Thanks to the two methods we just declared, it saves a lot more time, and we can use both of those. This method, which is this one, already utilizes this one. So all we have to do is just call this method, add the menu item, and it returns to us the total profit we get for that item, and then add it to our total profit overall, right? Cool. That should work. Let's test out our LemonadeStand.py. We should be able to just run this. Hold on, let me see if it imported right. LemonadeStand.py. We should just be able to do import LemonadeStand because it holds everything already. And then let's test it out. Python, LemonadeStand, test. All right. We filled everything. All right, let's check it out. From the top. On test 1. It says name menu item is not defined. What do you mean it's not defined? $5.54. Oh, it's probably because whatever. Eliminate menu item, and then it's importing the method specifically. Let's go ahead, because we changed the did we import stuff for today? Yeah. from sales per day, import. Okay. Well, we passed 3 now. We failed 2. Fail 2. Item does not exist in the menu. Sure, raise. It's saying that it didn't raise an error. Let's check it out. We failed. Okay. Test invalid cells error. Invalid cells item error not raised. Let's check out our LemonadeStand.py. Where did they created the okay, so we didn't add an invalid cells error onto enter cell for day. Why is it not catching it? Test invalid cells error. Let's create the eliminate stand, creates the menu item. It adds the menu item. Stand dot enter cells for today. It's failing this one right here. It says it wasn't raised. Do you guys see something I don't see? Day 0, item sold dick. Fudge, lemons, and cake. Cake's not in there, so it should raise an issue. If the item is not in cell.underscore menu, raise invalid cells error. It's probably somewhere here. So how do we refactor this? Who has any ideas? Because it's not raising the invalid cells item error. Right, so if we look at the test here, they create the lemonade stand, that's good. They create 2 menu items, lemons and fudge. So these are on the menu. They added it on the menu, and then this is a dictionary that's being passed into the enter cell for the day method, right? We're using this dictionary. It holds fudge lemons, but there's an item here in this dictionary called cake. right? And this cake is not in there. So it's supposed to rate the invalid sales item error, but it says that it does not, right?
So maybe I don't understand it, but in the accept invalid sales item error, instead of putting print, maybe just type in raise invalid sales item error again. Instead of where it says print, maybe just raise the error again.
That's probably gonna fix it. Invalid sales item error. Let's check it out. Yep.
Hmm.
So it's not that we did wrong. It's just the way the test is testing it. And we just saw that work. This will probably work the same. Raise invalid sales item error. No information found for that date. No information found for that day. Let's see. Tested the correct message is returned to the user if they query the sales for a data does not exist. So it's not returning the correct answer. It's supposed to return, it's returning none. Well, it needs to return no information found for that date. All right. So what if return no information found for that day? Let's see if we want to print out. So profit. No, it's not liking that. It's the way that we wrote for the exception. Let's check it out. Total test sales of menu item for that day. It didn't even ask for an invalid sales item error for this day. So it's not even checking. It's not even checking for an exertion error. It's checking for a message. Oop. Yeah. So you can check it, get the dick. If it's not in there, return that, else return this. It's not liking that. Um, Let's check it out. What's up?
That's what I was going to suggest. We go to line 81 to see what it's actually checking in the test.
So has lemonade stand adds both the items. Good. It tested it out. So one chips. So it checks an item that is in there. What is that one? The day. Giving it a day and the chips.
So it's checking for day 1, but we never gave it a day 1.
Yep. You're absolutely right. So that means there you go. Isn't that annoying, huh? You see how awesome it is to be able to read the test cases? Everything can be right. You can code it and it works. But if it doesn't pass the test cases, it's wrong. Right? Does this give you a better example of why it's important to understand what your code is doing and how to read these test cases? The importance of why we went over unit test cases? I think that was like a prime example of what happens or what's gonna happen when you guys get into the immersive program. You can code along, do everything like the remit says, it's fine, but if it's not returning it how it should, if it's a one small little issue, then it's gonna fail. So good job on Cody. Awesome at reading the test cases. Proud of you. Any questions up to this point?
Are you able to drop all that code into Slack?
Oh, yeah, it might be multiple code snippets, but I definitely can.
Okay, thanks.
But yeah, so we definitely did return no information found for that day if it wasn't in the menu, but we didn't take into account if we ran through the entire code base and we never the day wasn't even there. But good catch on Cody. Also, but besides that, any questions of how this was done? That's pretty much how your assessments are gonna go. You're gonna get your assessment is gonna give you a readme of what you have to code. You're gonna go to the readme. You're gonna figure out your own way of doing it. You're gonna run the unit test, and it's gonna fail 90% of them. And it's gonna be something small like you didn't import it here, the naming convention, it didn't have the exact message. But you guys have to see the thought process behind it, trying to decode it and fix your issues after failing the test cases. Hopefully that gives you some kind of insight of how to go about it whenever you guys go through the assessments. Just check out the test. What exactly is it testing for? Maybe like your code does work and it does what it should be doing, but it's not exactly what they're testing for. So just keep that in mind. Don't just go ahead and delete everything thinking that your program is completely messed up. There's probably something very simple, like one line of code. But yeah, so time is 8:24. We will break for 10 minutes, come back, we'll start the next lesson, and then we'll call it for the night. Sounds good? Hey guys, you out there? Hey, I'm gonna go ahead, I think I'm gonna stop it for the day. I would hate to start the lesson and not be able to get too far into the lecture, and start halfway tomorrow. I feel like it would be an awkward point for us to stop. So we're gonna go ahead and call it today for the official lecture. For the remainder of the time that I do have here, I would like to take it to help out any students that feel like they need anything answered about what we just covered. That way you guys can get any kind of personalized help if you felt like you struggled with it, you quite don't understand it. But besides that, that's going to conclude today's lecture.